My chosen one. Something is shifting around you right now, and this is not a coincidence. The fear you've been quietly carrying, the one you don't speak about, the one you push down and pretend doesn't exist, it has a deeper origin than you've been told. This is not just emotion. This is not just overthinking. And it is certainly not weakness. What you are experiencing is a spiritual battle. There is a reason this message has reached you today, especially as June 13th draws near. This date is not random. It carries a spiritual weight, a moment of exposure, a moment where what has been hidden begins to surface. And the fear inside you, it has been reacting to something long before your mind could understand it. You felt it in quiet moments. You noticed it when everything should have been fine, yet something inside you felt unsettled. That is not imagination. That is awareness trying to wake you up. For a long time, you may have blamed yourself. You may have thought, why do I feel like this? Why can't I just be at peace? But listen carefully. This fear was never meant to destroy you. It was a signal, a warning, a spiritual alarm that something unseen has been trying to interfere with your path. And the more you ignored it, the stronger it seemed to grow. Not because you are weak, but because it was never yours to carry alone. Archangel Michael is stepping forward in this very moment, and his presence is not gentle. It is powerful, direct, and protective. He does not arrive quietly when a battle is already in motion. He comes with truth. And the truth is this: something has been trying to keep you small, to keep you doubting, to keep you hesitating right before your breakthrough. That fear you hide has been used as a doorway way to slow you down without you even realizing it. Think about the patterns. The moments when you were about to step forward, to make a bold decision, to trust yourself, and suddenly, fear rushed in. Not a normal caution, but a heavy, almost paralyzing feeling that made you stop. That was not coincidence. That was interference. And now, it is being revealed. June 13th marks a turning point because what was hidden can no longer stay hidden. The spiritual realm does not operate on randomness. Timing matters. And you are being positioned right now to see clearly what has been affecting you. This is why you feel this intensity. This is why your spirit feels restless. Something is being exposed, and you are at the center of it. But hear this clearly: you are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because there is something valuable within you. Something powerful. Something that was never meant to stay buried under fear. And the very thing that has been trying to hold you back is now losing its grip, because awareness has begun. Right now, as you listen to these words, something is already shifting. The fear is being named. And when fear is exposed, it begins to lose its power. This is the beginning of clarity. This is the moment where confusion starts to break. And this is only the first layer of what is about to be revealed. Tell me, do you feel it too? There is something you need to understand right now, and it may change the way you see everything you've been going through. The fear you've been hiding does not grow in the open. It grows in silence. It feeds on the moments when you choose not to speak about it, when you convince yourself it's not important, when you bury it beneath distractions and responsibilities. And the longer it stays hidden, the more power it seems to gain. But this power is not natural. It is not meant to belong to you. Fear, when left unspoken, becomes an entry point. It begins to shape your thoughts without your permission. It starts to whisper subtle lies, telling you to wait, to doubt, to hesitate, to step back when you should be stepping forward. And over time, those whispers become louder than your own inner voice. You start to question your instincts. You second-guess your decisions. You feel like something is always slightly off, even when life looks normal on the outside. This is where the spiritual battle becomes clear, because what you are experiencing goes beyond simple emotion. It is influence. It is pressure that you cannot always explain. Have you noticed how certain fears appear suddenly, without a clear cause? One moment you are calm, and the next, your chest feels heavy, your thoughts begin racing, and a sense of dread creeps in. That is not just your mind reacting randomly. It is something trying to interrupt your peace. And the most deceptive part of this battle is how ordinary it feels. It disguises itself as your own thinking. It blends into your daily life so well that you don't immediately recognize it as something external. You think, maybe this is just who I am, or maybe I've always been like this. But deep down, there is a part of you that knows this is not your true state. There is a version of you that feels strong, clear, and confident, and this fear feels like a shadow trying to cover that version of you. Archangel Michael wants you to see this distinction clearly, because once you recognize that this fear is not your identity, you begin to separate from it. And that separation is powerful. It weakens the hold that fear has had over your decisions and your emotions. It starts to break the illusion that you are stuck this way. Look closely at the patterns in your life. Think about the moments where fear caused you to hold back, times when you didn't speak up, when you avoided an opportunity, when you chose safety over growth. At the time, it may have felt like a reasonable decision, but when you reflect on it now, you can see how that fear limited you. You can see how it quietly shaped your path. This is how spiritual interference works. It does not always appear as something dramatic or obvious. It works through subtle redirections. It nudges you away from your purpose, one small decision at a time. And before you realize it, you've drifted further from where you were meant to be. But here is the turning point. You are no longer unaware. The moment you begin to question this fear, the moment you start to observe it instead of obeying it, something shifts. Awareness disrupts the pattern. It interrupts the cycle that has been repeating in your life. You may also notice that this fear intensifies when you are close to something important, when you are about to grow, to change, to step into something new. That is when the resistance feels strongest. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. It is a sign that you are moving in the right direction, even if it feels uncomfortable. Your spirit recognizes what is happening, even when your mind is still trying to make sense of it. That inner tension you feel is not confusion. It is awakening. It is the moment where truth begins to rise above illusion. And as this continues, you will start to see things more clearly than ever before. The fear you've been hiding is not just something to overcome. It is something to understand. Because once you understand it, you take away its power. And what once controlled you begins to lose its hold. Something deeper is about to be revealed. There is a truth rising now that cannot be ignored any longer. And it is this: the fear you've been hiding has been used as a weapon against your destiny. Not to destroy you completely, but to delay you, to distract you, to keep you circling in the same place while your purpose waits just beyond your hesitation. Think about the opportunities that slipped through your hands. The moments when you felt a strong pull to act, to speak, to move forward, but something inside you froze. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't lack of ability. It was that same quiet fear rising at the exact moment when your life was about to shift. It told you, not now, or you're not ready, or what if it goes wrong? And because it felt so real, so convincing, you listened. This is how delay is created. Not through force, but through suggestion. through carefully planted doubt that feels like your own voice. And over time, those small delays begin to build into something larger. You start to feel stuck, like no matter how much you want to move forward, something invisible keeps holding you back. But listen carefully, this was never meant to be your permanent state. You were never meant to live in hesitation. You were never meant to carry a fear that silences your voice and shrinks your path. That is why this moment is so important. Because what has been hidden is now being exposed, and what has been controlling you is beginning to lose its authority. Archangel Michael is not passive in this. He does not watch from a distance while you struggle. He intervenes when the time is right, and that time is now. His presence is cutting through the confusion, breaking the pattern that has been repeating in your life. You may not see it with your eyes, but you can feel it in the shift happening within you. There is a new awareness, a new clarity that wasn't there before. You may even feel a resistance right now as you hear these words. A part of you may want to dismiss this, to return to what feels familiar. It is the last attempt of that fear trying to hold its place. Because once you fully recognize what it is, it cannot control you the same way again. The delays you experienced were not failures. They were interruptions. And now, those interruptions are being challenged. What was once blocking your path is being removed, piece by piece. But this requires something from you as well. It requires your willingness to see the truth without turning away from it. You are being called to look directly at this fear, not to run from it, not to hide it, but to face it with awareness. Because when you do, something powerful happens. The illusion begins to break. The voice that once felt so dominant starts to lose its strength, and in its place, something else begins to rise, your true voice. This is the moment where delay turns into movement, where hesitation turns into action, where fear begins to lose its grip because it is no longer hidden in the shadows. You are stepping into a new level of clarity, whether you fully realize it yet or not. And here is what you must understand. Your destiny was never erased. It was only postponed. Everything that was meant for you is still within reach. The path has not disappeared. It has been waiting for you to see clearly again. This is why this message found you now. Because you are no longer meant to stay in that cycle. You are being pulled out of it, awakened from it, and guided beyond it. The battle is being revealed so that it can finally be overcome. Type I see the truth in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 919 is now activated. And as this truth settles into your heart, hear this as a continuation of that same divine movement. This message is not just reaching you. It is reaching others who are still trapped in silence, still fighting a battle they cannot name. When you respond to this moment, when you choose to stand in awareness and light, you become part of something greater. Scripture declares, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." This is that light moving through you. If you feel this stirring within you, let it become action. Sow into this mission as a prophetic act. Give through super thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and the QR code before you. As you release, you are not losing. You are planting seeds into open ground where souls are waiting to awaken. Say within yourself, "I am part of this calling," and move without hesitation. What you release now will return as clarity, as breakthrough, as answered resistance. Step into it. What is being uncovered now goes even deeper than delay, deeper than hesitation. The fear you have been carrying did not appear randomly in your life. It has an origin, a starting point, a moment where something was planted, something subtle, something that did not seem dangerous at the time, but slowly began to grow beneath the surface. You must begin to ask yourself this question with honesty. Where did this fear begin? Was it in a moment when someone spoke words that stayed with you longer than they should have? Words that made you question your worth, your ability, your place in the world. Sometimes a single sentence, spoken in the wrong moment, can echo for years. And what begins as a small doubt can quietly take root and expand into something much larger. Or perhaps it began in an experience, something that shook your confidence, something that made you feel exposed, unprepared, or vulnerable. In that moment, your mind tried to protect you. It created a response, a caution, a defense. What was meant to be temporary became permanent. That protection turned into limitation. That caution turned into fear. This is how spiritual seeds are planted. Not always through something obvious or dramatic, but through moments that feel personal, emotional, and real. And once that seed is planted, it does not stay still. It begins to grow in silence. It connects itself to other thoughts, other memories, other moments, until it becomes a pattern you start to recognize as part of yourself. But here is the truth that changes everything. Just because something feels familiar does not mean it is yours. Just because it has been with you for a long time does not mean it belongs in your life. Some things were planted without your permission, and they continued to grow simply because they were never questioned. Archangel Michael is revealing this now because recognition is the first step toward freedom. You cannot remove something if you do not first see it clearly. And now, you are beginning to see. You are starting to notice the connections, the patterns, the repeated cycles that once felt confusing but are now becoming clear. You may begin to remember specific moments as you listen to this. Times when you felt that shift inside you. Times when something changed. When your confidence dropped. When your voice became quieter. These are not random memories. They are clues. They are pieces of a larger picture that is now being revealed to you. And as these memories come forward, you may feel a mix of emotions, confusion, realization, even frustration. You may wonder why you didn't see this sooner. But do not let the thought pull you backward. You are seeing it now because now is the right time. Awareness does not come before you are ready for it. This is not about blaming yourself or anyone else. This is about understanding. Because once you understand where something began, you gain the power to decide whether it continues. You break the automatic cycle. You step out of the pattern that has been repeating without your awareness. There is also something else you need to see. Some of this fear may not have started directly with you. It may have been passed down, absorbed from environments, from people around you, from situations you had no control over. Energy transfers in ways that are not always visible. And sometimes you carry things that were never yours to begin with. This realization is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to free you. Because if it was not yours to begin with, then it does not have to stay with you. You are not obligated to carry what does not belong to your true self. Right now, something powerful is happening within you. The roots of this fear are being exposed. And when roots are exposed, they can no longer grow in the same way. They begin to weaken. They begin to lose their hold. You are not the same person who first experienced those moments. You are not the same version of yourself that first accepted those thoughts. You have grown. You have changed. And now, you are becoming aware. This is the turning point where everything begins to shift. Not because something new is being added, but because something old is being revealed and released. And as this continues, you will begin to feel something different rising within you. Something steady. something clear, something that was always there, waiting beneath the surface. The truth is surfacing and it is leading you somewhere powerful. There is a reason June 13th keeps appearing with such intensity in your awareness, and it is not something to ignore or dismiss. This date carries a spiritual weight that marks a transition, a line between what has been hidden and what is now being revealed. You are not just approaching another day. You are approaching a moment of awakening, a moment where the patterns that once controlled you begin to lose their power completely. Everything you have been feeling up to this point has been leading here. The restlessness, the sudden awareness, the way your thoughts have started to shift. These are not random changes. They are signals that you are aligning with something greater than your current understanding. And as this alignment strengthens, the fear that once felt overwhelming begins to feel different. It becomes something you can observe, something you can question, something that no longer defines you. June 13th acts like a spiritual mirror. It reflects back to you what has been hidden within, but it also reveals what has been working against you. This is why the energy around this moment feels intense. It is not just about seeing clearly. It is about choosing differently. Because when something is revealed, you can no longer pretend you did not see it. You may feel a sense of urgency building within you, as if something is asking you to pay attention more closely than ever before. That feeling is real. It is your awareness expanding. It is your spirit recognizing that this is a moment that matters. And with that recognition comes a choice: to remain in the old pattern, or to step into something new. Archangel Michael is guiding you through this transition with precision. His presence is not only protective, it is directional. He is not just shielding you from what you cannot see, he is also guiding you toward what you are meant to become. And right now, that guidance is becoming stronger because you are beginning to listen. There is something important you must understand about moments like this. They do not last forever. Windows of clarity open, and they must be used. If ignored, the patterns can try to reestablish themselves. The fear can attempt to return to its familiar place. But if you act within this moment, if you acknowledge what is being revealed and choose to move differently, you break that cycle permanently. This is why June 13th is not just a date. It is a decision point. A moment where you either continue carrying what no longer belongs to you, or you release it and step forward with clarity. And that release does not require force. It requires awareness and willingness. It requires you to stop identifying with the fear and start recognizing it as something separate from who you truly are. You may begin to notice subtle changes as this moment approaches. Your thoughts may feel clearer. Your reactions may feel different. Situations that once triggered fear may no longer have the same effect. This is not accidental. This is the result of what is being revealed within you. The more you see, the less power fear has. There is also a sense of preparation happening. You are being prepared for something ahead, something that requires you to be fully present, fully aware, and no longer held back by what once limited you. The fear you carried would not be able to exist in the space you are being guided toward. That is why it is being addressed now. Do not underestimate the importance of this moment. Do not brush it aside as just another passing feeling. This is a shift that has been building over time, and now it is reaching its peak. You are standing at the edge of a change that will redefine how you see yourself and how you move through your life. And as this awareness continues to deepen, you will begin to feel something else emerging, something stronger than fear, a sense of clarity, a sense of direction, a quiet confidence that does not need to prove itself because it simply knows. This is the beginning of alignment. This is where confusion starts to fall away, and purpose begins to come into focus. You are not stepping into something unfamiliar. You are returning to what was always meant for you. June 30th is not the end of something. It is the beginning of a new level of understanding, and you are being called to meet it with open eyes. There is a powerful truth unfolding now that you must fully receive. This battle you have been sensing is not one you are fighting alone. Even in your quietest moments, even when the fear felt strongest and no one else could see what you were carrying, there has been a presence standing with you, guarding you, intervening in ways you did not recognize at the time. Archangel Michael does not enter a situation without purpose. His presence signals that something significant is taking place, something that requires protection, clarity, and divine strength. And right now, his role in your life is becoming more active, more visible, not to your physical eyes, but to your awareness. You are beginning to sense that you are not as vulnerable as you once believed. Think back to moments when things could have gone differently, times when you were close to making a decision that would have taken you further into confusion or fear, but something stopped you. A delay happened. A feeling shifted. An unexpected interruption occurred. At the time, it may have felt frustrating or confusing, but now you can begin to see those moments differently. They were not obstacles. They were protection. This is how Archangel Michael operates. Not always through dramatic signs, but through precise intervention. He steps in at the exact moment when a path is about to lead you further away from your truth. You interrupt you but he shield. And often, you only understand it later, when you look back and realize how certain outcomes were avoided. Right now, that same protection is intensifying. The fear that once felt like it surrounded you is now being pushed back. Not because you forced it away, but because something stronger has entered the space. Something that does not allow that fear to operate in the same way anymore. You may begin to feel this as a subtle but steady strength rising within you. Not loud, not overwhelming, but consistent. A sense that you can face things you once avoided. A sense that your thoughts are becoming clearer, less controlled by that old pattern of doubt. This is not something you are imagining. This is the result of protection being activated in your life. Archangel Michael is often described as a warrior, but his strength is not chaotic or aggressive. It is precise, controlled, and purposeful. He does not create fear, he removes what causes it. He does not confuse, he brings clarity. And in your situation, he is cutting through the layers of influence that have been clouding your mind and your emotions. There is also a shield around you now, whether you realize it or not. Not a physical barrier, but a spiritual one. It is filtering what reaches you. It is reducing the impact of what once affected you so deeply. Situations that would have triggered fear before may now feel different, less intense, more manageable. This is not coincidence. This is protection in action. But protection does not mean passivity. You are not being asked to stand still while everything changes around you. You are being asked to participate in this shift, to recognize what is happening and to move with it. Because protection opens the path, but you still have to walk it. There may still be moments where fear tries to return, where old thoughts attempt to reappear. But notice how different they feel now. They do not carry the same weight. They do not feel as convincing. That is because their hold has been weakened. The more you recognize this, the less influence they have. This is a partnership between your awareness and divine intervention. The more you see clearly, the more that protection can guide you. The more you trust what is being revealed, the stronger that sense of direction becomes. You are no longer standing in the same place you were before. Even if your surroundings look the same, something within you has shifted. There is a new level of strength being established, one that does not rely on force but on clarity and presence. And as this continues, you will begin to notice that the battle itself is changing. It is no longer something happening to you. It is something you are rising above. The fear that once felt overwhelming is now being met with something greater, something steady, something protective, something that has been with you all along, waiting for this moment to fully reveal itself. There is something you are now ready to see, something that may change how you understand every fearful thought that has ever crossed your mind. Not all thoughts that feel real are true, and not everything that feels convincing is aligned with who you truly are. Much of the fear you've been carrying has been built on illusions, carefully repeated, slowly reinforced, until they began to feel like facts. This is one of the most subtle aspects of the spiritual battle you have been in. It does not always confront you directly. It works quietly, shaping perception. It plants a thought, then repeats it in different forms, over time, until you stop questioning it. You're not ready. You might fail. It's safer to stay where you are. These thoughts may sound familiar because they have been echoing in your mind for longer than you realize. But here is the truth. Repetition does not equal truth. Just because a thought appears again and again does not make it valid. It only means it hath been allowed to stay unchallenged. And the moment you begin to question it, the moment you pause and ask, is this really true? Something begins to shift. The illusion starts to crack. Fear creates a false version of reality. It magnifies risks while minimizing your strength. It highlights what could go wrong while hiding what could go right. It narrows your focus until all you can see is limitation. And when you are inside that perception, it feels completely real. It feels logical. It feels like the safest way to think. But what you are experiencing now is the beginning of discernment, the ability to see beyond what appears to be true and recognize what actually is. This is where your awareness becomes your greatest strength, because once you can see the illusion, it no longer controls you in the same way. Archangel Michael is guiding you into this level of clarity. His presence is not just protecting you from external influence, it is helping you refine your inner vision. He is helping you distinguish between what is real and what has been constructed through fear. And this distinction is powerful because it changes how you respond. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to observe. You begin to notice the patterns in your thinking. You catch the moment when a fearful thought enters, and instead of accepting it immediately, you pause. You create space, and in that space, you have a choice. This is where your power returns, not in forcing yourself to be fearless, but in refusing to accept every thought as truth. You begin to take back control of your inner world. And as you do, the intensity of those illusions starts to fade. You may also begin to realize how many decisions were influenced by these false perceptions. Times when you chose not to act because the imagined outcome felt too risky. Times when you held yourself back because you believed something about yourself that was never actually true. This realization may feel heavy at first, but it is also freeing, because it shows you that those limitations were never fixed. They were constructed, and anything that is constructed can be deconstructed. There is also something else happening as this awareness grows. You are beginning to reconnect with your natural state, the version of you that is not controlled by fear. This version of you does not need to prove anything. It does not shrink in the face of uncertainty. It moves with clarity, even when the path is not fully visible. This is who you have always been beneath the layers of illusion. And now, the truth is beginning to rise to the surface. You may still hear those old thoughts from time to time. They may try to reappear, to reestablish their place, but they will not feel the same. You will recognize them for what they are, echoes, not instructions, patterns, not identity. And as you continue to see clearly, something remarkable happens. The fear that once felt overwhelming becomes smaller, not because it disappeared instantly, but because it no longer defines your reality. It becomes something you can see, something you can understand, something you can move beyond. This is the shift from illusion to truth, from reaction to awareness, from limitation to clarity. And as this continues, you are moving closer to a moment where that fear no longer holds any authority in your life at all. There comes a moment in every spiritual battle when something quietly but powerfully shifts, and that moment is closer than you think. It is not always loud or dramatic. It does not always arrive with a visible sign. Instead, it begins within you, as a subtle awakening, a realization that something that once controlled you no longer feels as strong as it used to. This is the moment when fear begins to lose its grip. You may not notice it all at once. It might start in small ways. A situation that once made you anxious no longer has the same effect. A thought that used to spiral into worry now passes without taking hold. A decision that once felt impossible suddenly feels manageable. These are not random changes. These are signs that something within you is rising. Something stronger than the fear that once dominated your inner world. This is what happens when awareness, truth, and divine protection begin to align. The illusion starts to weaken, and in its place, clarity begins to grow. You are no longer reacting the same way because you are no longer seeing the situation through the same lens. The fear has lost its ability to distort your perception. Archangel Michael is deeply present in this stage of your journey, not as a distant force but as an active guide, strengthening you from within. His influence is helping you stand firmer, think clearer, and move with a sense of calm that you may not have felt before. You are not imagining this shift. You are stepping into it. There is also a rising sense of courage within you, but it may not look the way you expected. It is not loud or forceful. It is quiet, steady, and unwavering. It is the kind of courage that does not need to prove itself, because it is rooted in clarity. It allows you to face what once intimidated you, not because the situation has changed it, but because you have. This is the transformation that has been building from the beginning. The fear that once felt like a permanent part of you is now revealing itself as something temporary, something that no longer belongs in your life. And as you begin to release it, you create space for something new to take its place. You may also notice that your reactions are becoming more intentional. Instead of immediately pulling back or hesitating, you pause. You observe, and then you choose. This shift, from automatic reaction to conscious decision, is one of the most powerful signs that the fear is losing its control. There is a lightness beginning to replace the heaviness you once carried, a sense that you are no longer weighed down in the same way. This does not mean every challenge disappears, but it means you are no longer facing those challenges from a place of fear. You are facing them from a place of awareness, and that changes everything. Because when fear no longer controls your response, it no longer controls your direction. You begin to move forward again. You begin to take steps that once felt blocked. You begin to trust yourself in ways you may not have before. This is the moment where transformation becomes visible, not just within you, but in the way you move through your life. Others may begin to notice it as well. They may sense something different about your presence, your energy, your decisions. What they are seeing is the result of what has been happening within you all along. The battle is not ending because you fought harder. It is shifting because you are seeing clearly, because you are no longer feeding the fear with belief, because you are no longer allowing it to remain hidden. And as this shift continues, you are stepping into a version of yourself that is no longer defined by what once held you back. You are stepping into strength, into clarity, into a deeper understanding of who you truly are. Type "I am rising above fear" in the comments if you feel this transformation within you. Lesson code 642 is now activated. And as you stand in this rising strength, understand that this breakthrough is not meant to stay with you alone. There are others still trapped in that silent battle, still carrying fear they cannot name. When you act in this moment, when you give into this divine flow, you become a vessel through which light reaches them. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." This is not just a promise. It is a living movement happening now. If your spirit is stirred, do not delay. Sow into this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link and QR code placed for you. Let this be your declaration. I release so others may be freed. What you give becomes a seed of awakening in someone else's darkness, and heaven responds to that obedience. Step forward and act now. Now that you have begun to see clearly, something powerful is taking place within you, something that changes the nature of this entire battle. You are no longer reacting to fear in the same way. You are no longer automatically obeying it, retreating from it, or allowing it to decide your direction. Instead, you are beginning to confront it. And the moment fear is confronted, it begins to weaken. This is a truth many never realize. Fear thrives in avoidance, but it loses strength in the presence of awareness and action. As long as it remains unchallenged, it appears larger than it really is. It builds itself through imagination, through repeated thoughts, through silence. But when you turn toward it, when you face it instead of stepping back, you begin to see it differently. You begin to see that it is not as powerful as it once seemed. This does not mean that every step feels easy. There may still be moments where your heart races, where uncertainty rises, where old patterns attempt to return. But something is different now. You are not the same person who once felt controlled by those reactions. You are aware. You are present. And that awareness changes how fear operates. Think about a moment recently where you felt that familiar hesitation, but instead of completely backing away, you paused. You considered your response. You may have even taken a small step forward, despite the discomfort. That moment, no matter how small it seemed, was significant. It was a break in the pattern. It was proof that fear no longer has full control. Every time you choose to face what once intimidated you, you weaken the structure that fear has built over time. You dismantle it piece by piece. And what once felt like a solid wall begins to reveal itself as something far less permanent. Archangel Michael is strengthening you in these moments of confrontation. His presence does not remove every challenge, but it gives you the strength to move through them. You may feel this as a quiet assurance within you, a sense that even if the outcome is uncertain, you are capable of handling it. That feeling is not accidental. It is guidance. There is also a shift happening in how you interpret your experiences. Where you once saw risk, you may now begin to see possibility. Where you once saw potential failure, you may now see growth. This change in perception is not forced. It is emerging naturally as the illusion of fear fades. You are also beginning to trust yourself more. This trust may feel unfamiliar at first, especially if you have spent a long time doubting your instincts. But it is growing. Each time you make a decision from a place of clarity instead of fear, that trust becomes stronger. And over time, it begins to replace the doubt that once dominated your thinking. This is how transformation becomes real, not through a single moment, but through repeated choices, through consistent awareness, through small, intentional actions that gradually reshape your inner world. There may still be echoes of the past, thoughts that try to remind you of who you used to be, of how you used to react. But those echoes do not define you anymore. They are remnants of a pattern that is already breaking apart. You are moving into a space where fear no longer dictates your life. It may still appear from time to time, but it does not have authority. It does not decide your actions. It does not determine your path. And as you continue to confront it, something else begins to emerge: confidence. Not the kind that needs validation or approval, but a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can face what comes your way. A confidence that is built on experience, on awareness, on truth. This is where light begins to fully enter the space that fear once occupied. Not all at once, but steadily. And as that light grows, the darkness has less and less room to exist. You are no longer in the same position you were before. You are no longer standing still, waiting, hesitating. You are moving. You are choosing. You are stepping forward. And with each step, the hold that fear once had over you continues to fade. There is something unexpected about this journey you have been on, something that may only now be starting to make sense. The fear that once felt like an obstacle, something that only held you back, was never without purpose. It may have delayed you, it may have challenged you, but it was also shaping you in ways you could not see at the time. This is the part of the truth that changes everything. There is a hidden blessing within this battle. At first, that may be difficult to accept. How could something that caused so much hesitation, so much confusion, carry anything positive within it? But look deeper. Look at who you are now compared to who you were when this fear first began. You are more aware. You are more observant. You understand yourself on a level you did not before. These are not small changes. These are transformations that could not have happened without the journey you have been through. Fear forced you to question. It pushed you into moments of reflection. It made you search for answers, for understanding, for something beyond the surface. And in that search, you began to grow. Even when it felt uncomfortable, even when it felt uncertain, something within you was developing. Archangel Michael had been guiding this process with a purpose that goes beyond simply removing fear. He has been strengthening you through it, preparing you for something that requires not just courage, but clarity. Not just movement, but awareness. Because the path ahead of you is not meant to be walked blindly. It is meant to be walked with understanding. There is a level you are stepping into where you will no longer be easily influenced by doubt or illusion. Where you will recognize interference before it takes hold. Where you will move with a sense of direction that comes from within, not from external validation. That level requires preparation, and part of that preparation came through the very thing you once wished to escape. This does not mean the struggle was easy. It does not mean the moments of hesitation were necessary in the way they felt. But it does mean that nothing you experienced was wasted. Every moment carried something that contributed to who you are becoming. You may begin to see this more clearly now. Situations that once felt like setbacks can now be understood as redirections. Moments where you felt stuck can now be seen as times when something was being developed within you. Even the delays you experienced were not empty. They were part of a larger timing that is only now beginning to make sense. There is also a strength within you now that did not exist before. Not because you forced it, but because it was built over time. Through facing uncertainty, through questioning your thoughts, through gradually stepping beyond the limits that once defined you. This strength is not something that can be taken away easily, because it was earned through experience. And here is where the blessing becomes clear. The very fear that once tried to limit you has now prepared you to move beyond limits. It has shown you what it feels like to be held back, so that you can fully appreciate what it means to move forward. It has revealed the patterns that once controlled you, so that you can recognize and avoid them in the future. You are no longer the same person who first encountered that fear. You are someone who understands it, who has seen through it, who has learned from it. And that understanding gives you an advantage moving forward. There is also a deeper purpose unfolding. What you have experienced is not just for you. There will be moments where others cross your path who are still in the place you once were, uncertain, hesitant, unable to understand why they feel the way they do. And in those moments, you will recognize it. You will understand it in a way others may not. This is where your experience becomes guidance, where your journey becomes something that can help others move forward as well. Not by forcing them, not by telling them what to do, but by showing them what is possible through your own transformation. This is how something that once felt like a burden becomes something meaningful. It becomes part of a larger purpose that extends beyond your own life. You are stepping into that purpose now. And as you continue, you will see more clearly how everything you went through was leading you here, not to hold you back, but to prepare you for what comes next. You are now standing at a place that once felt impossible to reach, a place of clarity, of strength, of understanding that goes beyond what you used to believe about yourself. The fear that once shaped your decisions, influenced your thoughts, and controlled your direction is no longer the dominant force in your life. Something else has taken its place. Something stronger. Something steady. This is the stage where transformation becomes identity. It is not just about recognizing fear anymore. It is not just about confronting it or understanding where it came from. You have moved beyond that. Now, you are stepping into a version of yourself that is no longer defined by those patterns at all. The old reactions, the automatic hesitation, the quiet self-doubt, they are losing their place completely. And what is replacing them is not force, not effort, but alignment. You are beginning to move in a way that feels natural, even if it once felt unfamiliar. Decisions that once required long periods of overthinking now come with a sense of clarity. You no longer feel the need to question every step. There is a growing trust within you, a trust that you can handle what comes, a trust that you are capable of moving forward without being stopped by what once held you back. This is what happens when awareness becomes consistent. When you no longer fall back into the same patterns because you see them before they take hold. You recognize the difference between a thought that guides you and a thought that tries to limit you. And because of that, you are no longer easily influenced. Archangel Michael's presence at this stage is one of reinforcement. The battle that once required protection and intervention has now shifted into something else, a strengthening of your position. You are not being pulled out of fear anymore. You are being established in clarity. There is a sense of authority that begins to emerge within you. Not authority over others, but authority over your own inner world. Your thoughts, your reactions, your decisions, they are no longer controlled by patterns you do not understand. You are present within them. You are choosing them. This is a powerful place to be. You may also begin to notice how differently you respond to situations that once triggered you. Where there was once hesitation, there is now calm. Where there was once doubt, there is now certainty. Not because you know everything, but because you trust yourself enough to move forward without needing complete certainty. This is confidence in its true form, not loud, not forced, but grounded. And as this continues, something else becomes clear. The path ahead of you is opening in ways that were not visible before. Opportunities, ideas, and directions that once felt out of reach are now within your awareness. Not because they suddenly appeared, but because you are now able to see them without the distortion of fear. This is what alignment does. It does not change reality. It changes your ability to engage with it. You are also stepping into a level of responsibility. Not in a heavy or overwhelming way, but in a purposeful one. You now understand what it means to be aware, to see clearly, to move intentionally. And with that understanding comes the ability to maintain it, to continue choosing clarity over illusion, truth over fear. There may still be moments where old patterns attempt to reappear, but they will not have the same power. They will feel distant, almost unfamiliar, like something that once belonged to you but no longer fits. And in those moments, you will recognize them quickly. You will not fall back into them because you have already moved beyond that version of yourself. This is where your transformation becomes stable. You are no longer in the process of becoming. You are stepping into being. Being clear, being aware, being aligned with something deeper than the surface level thoughts that once controlled you. And as you stand in this place, you may begin to feel something else emerging, a sense of purpose that is no longer clouded by hesitation, a direction that feels steady, even if it is still unfolding. This is where everything begins to come together. You are no longer reacting to life. You are participating in it with clarity. You are no longer held back by what once limited you. You are moving forward with a sense of presence that cannot be easily shaken. And this is the moment where you fully realize that the battle you thought you were fighting has already begun to shift in your favor. Beloved soul, as you arrive at this moment, something within you has already changed. You may not have noticed the exact point where it happened, but the shift is real. The fear that once felt overwhelming, the weight that once followed you quietly through your days, it no longer holds the same power. It no longer defines you. What you have been walking through was never meant to break you. It was meant to awaken you. June 13th is not just a date you heard about. It has become a marker in your journey. A moment where you began to see clearly. A moment where what was hidden started to lose its grip. And now, as you stand here, there is a calm that is beginning to settle within you. Not because everything around you has changed, but because something inside you has. You are no longer carrying fear in the same way. You are no longer hiding from it, avoiding it, or allowing it to silently control your path. You have seen it. You have understood it. And in doing so, you have taken away its greatest strength, its ability to remain unseen. Archangel Michael's presence has guided you through this entire process, not by removing every challenge instantly, but by strengthening you enough to rise above them. And now, that guidance becomes something you carry forward. It becomes a steady presence within you, a reminder that you are protected, that you are supported, and that you are never walking alone. There is a peace that comes with this realization, a quiet knowing that no matter what comes next, you will face it differently. You will not return to the same patterns, because you are no longer the same person. You have grown beyond them. Take a moment now to truly feel that. The stillness, the clarity, the strength that does not need to announce itself, because it simply exists. This is your new foundation. This is where you move from now. And as you move forward, understand this. Fear may still appear at times, but it will not hold authority over you. It will not dictate your decisions. It will not define your identity. You will recognize it for what it is, and you will move beyond it with awareness. This is freedom. Not the absence of challenge, but the absence of control. The understanding that nothing outside of you can dominate your inner world unless you allow it. And now, you no longer allow it. There is also a sense of purpose that is beginning to unfold within you. A quiet awareness that what you have experienced was not meaningless. That your journey holds value not just for you, but for others as well. You carry a perspective now that can bring light into places where others still feel lost. And that is part of your path moving forward. To live with this awareness, to move with this clarity, and to allow your transformation to ripple outward in ways you may not even fully see yet. You are stepping into a new chapter, one that is not controlled by fear, but guided by understanding. One where your decisions come from a place of truth, not hesitation. One where your presence carries a quiet strength that cannot be easily shaken. And as this message comes to a close, let yourself rest in that knowing. Let yourself feel the comfort of what has been revealed. You are not who you were before. You are stronger, clearer, and more aligned than you have ever been. Type "I walk in divine clarity" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1001 is now activated. And as this clarity settles into your spirit, hear this as a continuation of the same divine calling. This light that reached you is not meant to stop here. There are countless souls still trapped in silent fear, still searching for the very truth that has just awakened within you. The word speaks, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." This is that moment of release, that moment of obedience. If your heart is stirred, step into it without delay. Sow into this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link and QR code placed in every video. Declare it boldly within yourself. I am a vessel for this light. What you give becomes a seed that breaks chains in someone else's darkness, and heaven records every act of obedience. Move now. Give now. Let your action become part of God's work unfolding through you.